All right. Hi, I'm Hillary.
I'm Chelsea.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Amazing Grace. Oh,
First off, I loved it.
yeah, it was awesome actually.
Well, it was
So,
cool because my mother-in-law watched it for class and she freaked out. She's like, "I love that movie," so I just got to watch on DVD. Didn't have
oh,
to
really?
like pull up two screens or nothing. So I was like, "Yes, watch it on the big screen."
That's awesome. Oh man, that is
Good.
so cool. Well, at first I couldn't find it until I don't know what happened, but the link wasn't working, so I was like, oh man. And so uh thankfully I was able to watch it. But I watched it multiple times because I kept having to go back when answering the questions to be like, okay,
Yeah.
let's go over that again. Because I remember seeing it, but I didn't take like great notes the first time I watched it. I was just watching it to be like, okay, what is this about? Because I'd never heard of it before. And so
Yeah.
um, I ended up going over it multiple times. So let's go over the first question. It says, what doctrine in Wilbur's heart drove him to advocate? And why is the doctrine of the family so important to have in your heart, to be passionate about and persistent? So I thought that
Okay.
Christianity, like, was probably his main, like, drive. You know, the principles that he felt in his to serve, like to serve God and to serve others. You know, like
Mhm.
obviously he felt, you know, a pull, a draw for humanity. So
Yeah.
what did you think?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, kind of what I put in mine is just like, um, he believed that God created every person equal. And so, like right there at the beginning, like, he was, talking about how he was trying to figure out which way to go, more politics kind of thing, and then there was like, do both, because that's how we're gonna help these people and whatever else and stuff. That I just, I think the same thing. It's just like that he loved people, and felt that everyone should have the same rights and have the same experiences and the same opportunity to live.
Yeah. Well, and
Treated like
I
animals.
mean, didn't you feel that he had like compassion for everything? Like even the beginning scene where it showed the horse being whipped, you know, and he gets out and
Sure.
he's like, "Leave it alone. Like
Yeah.
give it an hour and then
Yeah.
it might be able to carry you." And I thought, yeah, like those people who are passionate about human life are typically passionate about all life. Like, you know, they
Yeah.
want to see all living creatures um treated with respect, you know, treated with dignity,
Yeah.
not necessarily, I mean, just, and I love the fact that he had all those pets, you know, like, that he had a rabbit and a bird
And a
and like,
crow that couldn't fly. Yeah. I know. At that part, I was like, when they're whipping the horse, I couldn't look because I'm such an animal lover. So I was like, I was angry at that part. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
oh, I
Like,
know,
leave
I know.
him alone. He's carrying your butt across the freaking
Isn't that
country. And
sad? Well, I'm sure
ugh,
that was super common. Like, people,
oh, I'm sure.
I don't know. I just can't imagine because I mean I don't know if you've ever worked with horses, but like to beat a horse, I could never ever imagine doing that. Just because they're so majestic, you know. Like
No.
why in the world would you ever do that? I
No.
mean to anything.
And there's
So
just like you can see their spirits like in their hearts, like in their eyes.
yeah, yeah,
It's like
I totally agree.
I couldn't. I couldn't.
No, I couldn't either. Anyway, the other thing I
And it's
just
always
said,
weird when you have like.
you're what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the other thing I felt is that when he had his epiphany on the lawn, when he was sitting on the lawn and he was talking to God, you know, and then
Hmm.
his butler guy came out to like, there's people at the door, you know, and he's like, oh, sorry, you know, it's kind of weird for me to be sitting here, and he's like, do you want to know what I'm doing? The guy's like, no, not really, like, and then he goes and tells him, he's like, God found me, you know, like. And I just thought that is gonna be
Yeah.
such a funny experience for the gentleman who's listening. Like he's like, okay, like you pay me to like be here for you, but holy moly, like that's a little bit too much information. But he was so sweet. Like he was, and then when he sat down and he's like, oh, I just don't know what to do, because that was the time when he didn't know whether he would be like a priest or go into politics. And he just sat there, he's like, oh, what do I do? And the guy came and sat next to him. And I just thought, that is adorable. Like, how many
I
people
know.
would be like, I think God's talking to me, like, at least in the fact that they would even realize,
Yeah. Well, I think too, like, I'm sure it wasn't as uncommon. Like, if someone were to say that now, people would completely look at you. You're nuts. Time, like, religion was really, really big. It was a big thing.
Yeah,
So it's like, if
yeah,
you were serious, people would be like, okay, I'm just sure. You
okay.
at the door. Well, I really like, um, oh, okay, so you talked about having it, like, why is it so important to have it, like, a doctrine in your heart? Um, I don't know, and I just kind of talked about, like, it keeps you moving forward, like, because it's not always going to be easy to get through, to advocate for things, so it's like, when the times get really, really hard, you have heart, or else you're going to burn out. You're going to burn
I
out, and
I
you're like,
totally
whatever,
agree.
and then you're going to stop caring.
Yep.
It's the same thing with the gospel. I related to the gospel. If you don't have
Oh,
that true testimony burning in your heart, then as soon as it's like, I don't know, so if you
as soon
have
as that's
mom
so
and dad,
funny.
and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, why would God do this to me? I'm done. It's like, it's the same thing. I think.
No, I felt the exact same way. What I wrote is that if you don't have the doctrine in your heart, that when the winds and rains come, you're going to be shaken, like in your conviction to your purpose, like he would have been, if you consider what he was up against and what like family advocates are up against, it is massive. It's like this huge mountain of negativism and people who are fighting to destroy the family, that if you don't have it, like you said, like a testimony as a family, you're not going to make it. Like if you have nothing to fall back on, like you truly don't believe that there's a Christ or that there's a reason or purpose for the family, it will be so, so hard to
Yeah.
continue to
Especially
advocate.
because, yeah, because you're gonna have to put up a huge fight. So
Yeah.
it's like, if you lose that drive, it's like, what's the point? Who cares? Like, yeah,
Well, and I
I
looked
just
up,
like, oh,
it's so weird. I totally said the same, like persistence, because the road is going to be so long. Like, and I looked up the background on this gentleman, William Wilberforce, and he waited 26 years to get his
oh my
bill
gosh,
passed. I know. I was like, whoa, that is a long time. But he never quit. Like he took that break where people, he was really, really sick and he went to live with his
yeah,
cousin but other than that, like he really was persistent and I think that the people who are advocating for the family have to do the same thing because there's no other way, There's just something there's any other way to
yeah,
other than just be persistent in what you believe in. So
hmm
anyway, question number 2 says, how did Wilbur employ the theoretical Bronfenbrenner approach to become a more effective advocate? And then it says identify at least one thing in each system and be specific. So the first system is microsystem. And what did you think? I said the church was a very big part in his life, and his mentor, the gentleman who was the preacher. I don't know what they called him, the father or his priest, the guy with who wants to be the monk, but he can only do it on Mondays and
oh
Wednesdays.
yeah, yes, that's it. He was funny.
He was awesome, but he was his main what is it called? Like he
Support.
was support in religious beliefs. Like he was the one who taught him about his experiences in the slave trade,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
probably I'm assuming because after reading his background, after reading his real background of what has happened to him in his life and how he kind of lost his family really early on in his life, and he became independently wealthy because of his family. So he didn't
Yeah.
have to do a lot of stuff because he didn't need to. But so he went to learn with this gentleman, and I think that that gentleman is the man who put such a bad taste of slavery in his heart. Yeah, like because of his own experiences. Even though he didn't really go into detail, because when he went back to him, he asked him, "I need you to tell me and talk to me about this," and he said, "No, I can't talk to you about it." I
Yeah.
mean, he's just amazing. He's the same guy who wrote Amazing Grace. Like he wrote the song. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
I know.
that's crazy. So anyway, I thought that for microsystem. What did you
I
think?
know. Oh, I totally think it works. When I was thinking about it, what kind of came to my mind at first was just oh, I always forget this guy's name, but the one who was the minister who became the minister.
Yeah. Oh, the
Um,
prime minister.
Ben- yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, something like
I can't remember.
that. Anyway, well, I just was thinking of him. Yeah, the guy who was trying to get him to come and once he became the minister or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Um,
William. Sorry, William Pitt. The
yeah,
one.
I know his real name. I just keep forgetting his character name.
The character name is William Pitt. You're so funny. That's awesome.
um, yeah, I just love it. So I just kept thinking about him, and he was just kind of picking his brain, like making him think and work hard and not give up, And so just like the conversations and the relationships that those guys had, I don't know, that's just for me what really got to me.
Well, and he
More,
really
and
influenced. Yeah, he totally influenced him to go after his cause. Do you remember?
yeah,
Because he said it'd be like you against 300, but I know you can do it. You know what I mean? And I thought, oh my
yeah,
gosh, like
yeah,
that's some faith. I totally agree, though.
yeah. Well, okay, I'm just gonna talk more about it, but there is a person talks about or group of people and whatever else and stuff, but it kind of the same thing. Like you need someone who's there to help you have your back, like help you when you're down, help lift you up, kind of a thing, and I don't know. I just thought he was kind of that way, like, hey, like I know this sucks right now, I know it's hard, I know it seems like we're never gonna win, but we can do it, and we deserve it and blah blah blah. So I don't know, I just thought about that too. Like, hey, like in life we need people like that. We need, you and stuff, but even then it's like you can I think we have more than one person that way too. Like key people who no matter what, that you can turn to them and they are gonna help pick you up off the ground and set you up right again, and I don't know, so that's kind of what came to my mind. But
I think that's great. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. In fact, I wrote that down too. So, the next system is mesosystem. Isn't that funny? The next system is mesosystem, and I just said there wasn't a big connection between his church and his friends, but there was a relationship between his peers, like the people who were pushing him to do the right thing, and his family. And so, because his cousin was there, like his cousin was also part of the, I don't know, like House of Commons or whatever you call it, like the people parliament, I don't know.
yeah,
And so friends and family were both pushing him to help fight the slave trade, So I
yeah.
don't know. What do you think?
No, no, I agree. Well, not for me. I put down just I don't know. I just kept I thought about Wilbur's life, like how and their story, how their relationship developed, and how it was just linked through so many different connections. Like um, uh, you know, how she was just interested in his work even beforehand, and then all these people kept trying to introduce them, and how everybody else out, they end up doing exactly what those people wanted them to do in the first place. I don't know. So that's just kind of what first came to my mind. I was just like, yeah, that totally fits.
Oh, it does. No, that's awesome. I didn't even think about that. But I love the part where she wanted to talk about the slave trade and he didn't want to talk about it. And then when he
He
started
like
to talk
flipped
about it,
out.
I know he like freaked out at her. And I was like, oh no. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh no. Like that's such a turn off. You know what I mean? Like you have this
Yeah.
guy screaming at you about how nothing gets done. And then she's so awesome. Like she's like, like go ahead, that's fine. Like talk about
I
it.
don't
Like
want
it's,
to. This is why I don't want to talk about it.
oh
He's like, I'm going to
shoot.
talk about it.
I think you should
Hey,
talk about it.
well,
There's one thing we
a little
disagree
fire
on.
underneath that one. Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
I did too. I was like, oh, I like her.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, perfect. And what's so interesting is that she's probably so much younger than him. Like she, I'm
Yeah.
sure, because it took years and years and years for him to get, his bill through. And she even said, like, every fall you bring your bill to the house. Like, and so I'm sure that because she said she was only 14 at the time when she started oohing and awing. And then how old is she now? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but it was just so
Yeah.
interesting. I thought, yeah, I'm sure that they were not in the same age group.
Yeah. Well, what I
But
really liked about it too is that women in that era were more quiet. Like more kind of off to the side, didn't really get their heads into everything and their thoughts and whatever else. The women are kind of more quiet, staying out of the way and stuff. So I like that she was just like, no, I have a brain and I'm going to use it.
yeah,
Yeah, that was
I
awesome.
thought that was so cool. And I love the fact that she wanted like intelligent conversation. She's like, do you
Mhm.
remember when he's like, I would change the subject to botany? Like, and
Yeah.
then and she's like, well, I'd be horribly bored with that. So, like, yeah, like, you should be.
Yeah.
That, I mean, come on, talk about something that's worthwhile, not like
Yeah.
flowers or, plants or, anyway, it's just kind of
But that's what they
funny.
talked
So,
about back then too. It's like they had weird
probably,
random conversations like that. At least in all the British movies I watch.
probably, you're probably right. I don't know. I've only seen a few British movies, so that's
Well,
funny.
I'm a British nerd, I guess.
Oh, I just don't have time. So I think I probably watched more, when I was single or I didn't have kids, and I probably watched
Yeah.
more of everything. But now that everything has changed,
Yeah, everything's
I,
Dora the Explorer and
yeah, I was gonna say
Jack the
we're
Neverland Pirate.
we're good with like Bob the Builder. Like I have my 2-year-old right now. Like we play
Oh
one
gosh.
10-minute clip for him on YouTube during lunchtime so I can get him to eat because right now he's just not eating. And I'm like, okay, let's
Uh-huh.
watch Bob the Builder. So then he'll sit there and go, Bob Builder, yes we do. Like yes we can. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay, whatever gets the food in your mouth.
I know, exactly. Like, and he'll just sit there and I'll just shovel the food in. I'm like, yep, it's fine. Let's just hurry and get this done. So yeah, anyway. The next one is the exosystem. So I don't know if mine was a stretch, but I put the Prime Minister of England, who was his like best friend,
Mhm.
played a big role in getting the bills passed to abolish the
Yeah.
slavery. Like, but right before he died, like he was in his deathbed, and he was saying, I kind of have everything set up for the next time you bring your bill to the House. So and so will be the prime minister, and he's against this, and blah blah blah. And so that's how I felt he was using that system to
Mhm. I'm
pass
like, yeah, I
his
see that.
bill.
I can see
What did you
that.
think
Yeah.
about?
So I'm just gonna hold on, scroll down to find that one. But okay, so for me I kind of just um thought of how in their society, like slavery was accepted, it was legal. I mean, some people obviously disagree with it, but for the majority, people were okay. I mean, and plus these people were raised anyways. So it was just kind of like I don't know, a step down from that kind of a thing. Um, but Wilbur was against it obviously, and he couldn't do anything right away to stop the whole thing going on and whatever else and stuff. But he wanted to change it, and at first he had no control over it at all. Like more just his own personal thought hated it. And then through you know like you said, the prime minister and a couple other people, like it just they kept fueling him to keep going and keep going. And some sort of obviously there was others who played a role in that, but I don't know. So that's just kind of what I thought of too, kind of tied into yours, but I don't know.
No, that's awesome. And the last one is, oh, good grief, I lost my spot. The last one is the macro system.
Mhm.
Or no, we have two more. Macro system. I just put this, it's because, let's see. He came from an educated background because of his family's wealth, and times were changing in Britain when he was trying to abolish the slaves. Like, um, he used the sympathies of the people to win more representatives to his cause. Like he would use, you know, he took the people on a boat ride and let them smell,
Oh
the
yeah,
death.
that part was
It,
fascinating.
oh my gosh, like I mean, to have the tenacity, like to have the ambition to do that to like these leaders in your society, like he had to be really young when he started out because as you get older in the society, you probably are like more calm, like you just kind of go with the flow. But no, he wasn't. And I love the fact that when before his friend, like his best friend, became prime minister, like when he said, "Oh, I want to become prime minister," he just laughed at him and he's like, "Yeah, like eventually when you're older." And he's like, "No, no, soon,
Yeah.
like right now. I'm the prime minister now." And then he
Yeah.
said something. He's like, "Well, we're too." He's like, "Nobody's ever been prime minister at this age, in their 20s or whatever nonsense it was." And he's like, "Then we're too dumb to know that we can't do it, or something like that." Like
Yeah.
they didn't put it off, and I thought that is so awesome. Like that they would use they used a lot of things to their advantage, like
Yeah.
I was impressed. So I don't know. What did you put for macro system?
I put down like what came by was just like the close of time, the policies that were passed, um, with their consent or the desire to for those policies be become effective or whatever. The courtroom is a huge part of that. I mean, obviously you could tell there was a lot of men in the room, but it took a lot of men to agree for one side to really make something happen. So if you're on the opposite end, like they had a lot of work to do, a lot of work to do. And so that's just the whole courtroom and all that kind of stuff is in the policies and what it took to get there and how you have to. So there's just so many steps and angles and ways you have to work through in order to get people on your side because a lot of times people are very when you have your mindset, you're very closed, you're closed off. It's like you sometimes you just don't even listen to what the other side even has to say anymore. So it's like
Yeah.
they had to come up with a way to even just get these guys to open up their minds and listen to what they had to say. And it took obviously a long time to even get there.
Yeah. Oh,
But
absolutely. No, I totally agree. And the last one is the chrono system. And that is like the overall, like where the world's at. And I just put that after the war with France was over, because during the war with France, he said that any talk of the slave, like freeing the slave or stopping the slave trade was talk of treason. Do you remember that? Like
mm,
that was so
yeah,
interesting. Anyway, after the war was over, people in Britain were more in favor of abolishing the slave trade because the circumstances had changed and people had changed. So that's what I put.
well, I totally forgot about that one, but I know what. I was just like, I don't know what. It was late when I was doing this.
It's all right.
But I
I
think that, yeah,
understand.
the chrono system. No, I totally agree with you though, because the chrono system is looking kind of like looking at the bigger picture, looking at everything as a whole, and just
Yeah.
like when I don't know, when I think about it this way, it's just like every single part, the macro system, ecosystem, everything like played a role in the chrono system. And
Yeah.
like if one of those, one of the events didn't happen, it could have changed the whole course of everything.
Oh yeah.
For example, like Wilbur, you take him. I mean, obviously this, I'm sure this Wilbur was driven by God to obviously get rid of slavery and stuff, but I'm sure God would have, kind of put someone else in the situation. But um, it's just like if you take that person who was the main driving force, nothing else happens. It's like you have to find a different way to go about it, and I don't know. So just looking at the chrono system, I just think that every little part has a huge, huge, and if one wasn't played, it's like the whole picture. But
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, it's true. It's the whole picture. It's the big picture.
hmm
So, the third question is, how did Wilbur and his fellow advocates do and share their research? And what evidence did they provide to persuade those opposing or on the fence? So, they were able to obtain firsthand accounts, from that one guy, the one black guy who was part of the abolitionist who wrote a book.
hmm
I can't remember his name, but
yeah, I know
and
what you're
they
talking about.
also and they also talked like they went to the locations of slavery and talked to the slaves about their experience. Like in the very end when
hmm
they brought the young lawyer and he was talking to them about like he had gone to the plantations, he had seen the people, he had talked to the people. Let's see, the ship, the MPs on their ship ride, um,
Yeah,
went over to the slave ship and described things, and they experienced it firsthand. Not necessarily they went in, but like that
it's
smell,
like they
like you
didn't
can't
have
even
to.
imagine. No, oh my gosh, you kidding me? Like the imagination. Like he was a really good storyteller. I'm sure. I'm
Yeah,
sure Wilbur was a really good storyteller. Um,
yeah,
and I think that those are probably some of the main things that they used to persuade people who were opposed or people who were sitting on the fence. I think that they used emotion. I think that
yeah,
they talked about like the how do you say that, the inhumanity of the slavery, like as owning another human being, like
yeah. Which I mean, because I said a lot of the same things in mine as well, and I think it
yeah,
totally, even just I don't know, hearing you say those things, well, it totally reminds me of Sister Barlow and how that's exactly what he did.
yeah,
He totally appealed to their hearts, to their sensitive side, used emotion to really drag them in and put them in their place. Like that's exactly what it is. And I don't know if I even wrote that in mine, but it's like when you hear and you say it, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's what she did.
well,
Like
it doesn't it remind you of that scripture, like, are you so far past feeling that you cannot remember, like, and I was like, yeah, like they use emotion everywhere, really. It's not just,
yeah, yeah,
for certain purposes. It's in everything to try and
yeah.
get humans to do, humanly things or humane things.
hmm
And I totally think that I mean, of course they did other things, but I'm sure that that was like a driving to use the emotions because those are strong.
Yeah.
Like those are super strong, especially as like the
Well,
the MPs.
they control our thoughts, our
Yeah,
judgments,
yeah.
everything.
Well, and especially like for the women. I'm not saying that women are more emotional per se than men, but like back then, I'm assuming that it's most likely that they were. And so when you had the MPs with their wives, can you imagine the conversations that they had when they got home? Like, like I just can't imagine. So anyway, let's see. The next question says, how does the film portray the importance of working together as a group, and what has family advocacy group work taught you? You can go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously, um, I don't know. Okay, I have to say in my little paragraph that I wrote, I totally talked about you guys in it as well. But I just told just it's such a great example. I was just like, you know what, like if you can get the right group of people together who get along really well and can talk and each kind of in a way kind of read each other's minds and you read each other's needs, like you can bring about such a work. Obviously, you can do it with one person. We are taught that in the scriptures and whatever else and stuff, but that one person can make a difference. But how much greater of a difference and sooner, if you have more people put together and fighting for the same cause, and um, I don't know, and I in my little paragraph I even just talked about how it reminded me of the song, "Put Your Shoulder to the Wheel." Like it's exactly what it kind of was here, and it in the song it says it talks about like we all have work. What is it? Let no one
Shirk.
shirk.
Yeah, like stop.
Put
Yeah.
your shoulder to the wheel, like yeah, like but it says like you can tell in the song it's talking about a group, like we, us, as
Yeah.
saints, as a group, like no one stop, keep pushing forward, keep moving forward. So it's like the same thing, like you having a group of people who are pushing each other forward, motivating each other, keeping that fire burning. So it's like, oh, and in my little paragraph I just talked about how like you always have group work and stuff, and I'm not that I've ever not liked anybody in my group work, but it's just like you were literally just there. It was a stretch to get to talk for the 20 minutes you had to talk, when it was,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been
and
in groups like that.
yeah, and some of them are not good people, some of them are not nice. It's just, sometimes it's a little awkward and uncomfortable, and I was just, talking about how, it kind of, for me, it, not that it, I don't know if she meant us to learn something like this, but that's, for me, it's kind of what I learned too, was just like, hey, like, it wasn't that there was anything wrong with those other people in all of my other group classes and stuff. There was nothing wrong
Yeah.
with them, but you have to find the right fit of people to be in that group to really push and motivate. Just like I've never had a class where I've actually enjoyed talking to my group. Like
You're
oh,
so funny. Like
I know it's horrible to say, but I was just like, and I tell everybody at work, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like, talking about group work, and they're like, oh, I hate group work. I was like, I know. Normally I do too. I was like, but I absolutely love my group. And I was like, I look forward to Thursday nights, and I was
I
like, we
know.
get to talk for what it was like 20 to 40 minutes, and we always talked for like hour, hour and a half, even after the recording,
I
and I was
know.
just like, it totally helped me learn so much more, and just
It
like,
makes a big
just,
difference, to be honest with you. I think it makes a
yeah,
huge difference if you can have, I don't even know what the best word for that is, but not get along, because I've always gotten along with the people in my other
yeah,
groups, but sometimes there's just not that connection, like you said, and you're like stretching for like, okay, let's go to the next question, like let's try and just keep moving people, and they're just like, okay, like oh.
yeah.
Yeah, so I
It's hard to
understand.
shut us up.
Yeah, I know, which is terrible, because sometimes I'm like, I really need to go, but it's so much fun to talk to people. Like, because with kids, like, just like you're with kids, but you have adults around you all day too. But I'm with kids, all day. And so, like, when they have an adult conversation, I'm like, it's so much fun that I don't want to hang up. I know that sounds so
Well,
silly, but
well, no, it's the same. It's the same too, because it's like I'm so busy. Yeah, I mean, I sort of in my room and stuff. And I talk to other adults, obviously, but it's like I literally just work, and then I come home and I'm at home and whatever else. It's like I don't really get to do a whole lot outside of that because I'm just so busy. But
yeah.
so it's just like, oh, this is so much fun. When I love it too, it's just like all of us were in different stages. I mean, okay, you and Jeanette were a little bit more similar, like
Kind of,
you
yeah.
know, been married for a little bit longer, and you guys already have at least one or two kids, and then there's me and Eva who are just like, she's a return missionary, she's on campus, like trying to find a man, like
She's
I'm
so
married
cute.
but I have no kids yet, so it's just like I loved how we were all so different, but we connected like we were all the same age.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
it was
But
so
it just
nice.
made it so much more fun, you know? Like, it just made everything much
Yeah,
more fun. I tell my spouse about
it,
everybody all the time.
I know. Like
So
you know,
funny.
even like when I have to do the weekly reports or whatever, and you have to report in Google Hangouts,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're just like, I'm gonna miss my group so much.
That is so funny.
And I'm
I
just
do
like,
the same thing. Like, I love my group. I love my group. I tell her, like, all the funny things to talk about. It's so funny.
I
And of
know.
course, she's going to listen to it. No, I don't know. She listens to the whole thing. But, you know, she presumably listens to it. So I don't really need to tell her, but I can say that, like, you know,
I
let me
know.
rehash it with, like, the funniness. So,
Well, and it makes me wonder how much she actually watched too, poor lady. I'm like, I'm so
I
sorry.
know.
Like, you have all this other stuff to do, and we won't shut our mouths.
know. And we go on and on and on. I'm sure there's some other groups that are like taking their time away and there's time away. Okay. But
I know.
gosh,
I know. But she was
but
always so sweet about it too. She's like, no, it's awesome. I'm so glad you guys like each other. Like, I know, me too. But
questions
anywho,
so we
so
can keep going. I gotta turn it in before midnight, and so do you. So what
oh, that's okay.
parallels
Go for it.
what parallels do you see between Wilbur and Captain Renai in Al 46? And what is a Christian and personal family advocate? How did Wilbur exemplify that? And how can you be effective in Christ-like in such loud and often? God, that is a lot of questions.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. I can hear you. I understand what you're saying, but just so you know, if I
Okay.
seem a little bit confused, that's why.
Well, you were breaking up earlier too, so I just figured hopefully it will go.
Hopefully it fixes it.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so Captain Moroni and Wilbur.
Okay, so um, I totally see a connection between the two of them. Like, here's Moroni, and he's kind of like the leader of this group, this drive, this passion, and he's holding up his flag. He's defending the rights of others. Wilbur's doing the same thing. He's speaking for those who don't have a voice to speak. And I don't know. I was just like, oh my gosh, I could totally see the connection. Oh no, you froze. Are you still there?
Am I? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, your face is frozen, but I hear you. As long as okay, you're moving again. You're live. Okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
Um, so I just I don't know. Obviously, they're both fighting for they felt it was their right to fight for God and fight for kind of what God gave us as rights and um fighting for our morals and things like that. And as a Christian, we feel we are accountable to God. So if there's something, and we've always been taught too, like you know, you the good Samaritan type thing, help lift each other and be there for each other, and and so I think for this too, it's like we know the family is what is the word I'm looking for? A creation of God, so it's like we have to stand up for that. It just goes to show too, like when the families are falling apart, then governments start to fall apart, and things start to fall apart if the family is falling apart.
Yeah.
So having that, knowing that, I think it's easier for us to stand up and fight because we know, if this is God's work, kind of a thing. And okay, what was the last question? How can you affect it?
Effective.
Oh, um, I don't know. It's just like there's a fine line because you have to, especially in today's world. Like maybe in the past you could have been a little bit more, I don't know what's the word, not as bold. But I feel like nowadays, we could have talked about this in previous weeks, but like we have to kind of just be bold now. Like you don't have to be hateful or I don't know, mean, but it's like you have to cut straight to the point. You rip off the band-aid and say the cold hard truth. Like, no, this is wrong for XYZ. Like, well, I don't know. And even in the movie, how like when they were in the courtrooms, how they kind of just like I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they kind of did they bashed each other a little bit. Like
Mhm.
he would know all about. I'll leave that to him because he knows all about smallpox or whatever it was, the pox
Yeah.
type thing. And so it's just like they kind of bash each other a little bit, and I think, that's definitely not the way to go about it, but I think you have to be bold. Just say this is right and this is wrong. There's no way around it. There's no gray areas. Blah 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 blah.
No, I totally get you in everything you just like. Like I compared him to when Wilbert lost his voice from yelling, like trying to yell over the people, and then I tore off his garment, like to write it on, to write the title of liberty on it, and then lift it up. Like he was doing the same thing, except he wasn't yelling,
Yeah.
I just thought it was so like the same. And then let's see, what's the other thing? Oh, the Christian and professional gymnastics. It's just like you said, it's Samaritan. Like you seek to do good wherever or whenever you can. Like you look after people who can't look after themselves and try to find ways to lift them up. Like I don't know. And then for the other one about being Christ-like, in the last, I don't know if it was in conference or in the women's conference, but Sister Bonnie Oscarson said, I found a quote. She said, "Let us be defenders of marriage as the Lord has ordained it, while continuing to show love and compassion for those with differing views." Having tolerance, but be firm, like you said. Like it's okay to be tolerant in other people's views, but be extremely firm in what you believe. Like it's important, and you've got to stand up. Like you can't be quiet anymore. Which I think that before I took this class, I think I was much more quiet than I probably will be in the future. Anyway, let's. Go ahead.
Loud mouth, but I've always just, when it comes to certain topics, I kind of say more than I should. I'm working on like the filter part. And, okay, in most other areas, I get pretty, I've got a good filter and stuff. But when it comes to something I'm extremely passionate about, I just let go. And I'm like, oh, like I need to tone it down a little bit, because that can come across the wrong way. You got to learn how to I don't know, use
well,
your
maybe
voice,
it's
but
kind
not
of
do it in a way
like
that turns people down.
it's
Like
kind
turns
of
them
maybe
away.
it was like how Wilbur got so excited that he started yelling at his future wife, like
Yeah.
where he's like, ah! and she's just like, oh wow, like that's just passion. I don't think it's meant to be overbearing or like demeaning to the other person anyway. You know what I mean? But you're right. I think there are some things that we could say, in a different way that would come across as more tolerant, but at the same time still take a stand. Like I had a friend who she said, she's so interesting and funny, but she said when everybody was posting on Facebook the equal marriage sign, like with the pink and the red, and that was like a year or two. I don't remember how long. Anyway, she me, and she at that time, and she was like, I do not understand why people get so offended if you disagree with that. Like if you post up, pictures of traditional marriage, or if you make posts about how you believe in traditional marriage, and other people are like, you're totally bashing on everybody else because you don't believe in equal rights or equal justice. And she's like, listen, you believe in what you believe, which is fine, and I haven't said anything negative about you, but let me believe in what I want to believe, and let me advocate for what I want, just like you do for you. And I thought,
That's so true. And like most of the time, I've especially with this topic, like a lot of the accusations that they keep throwing at our side, I'm like, look in the mirror. You are doing the same thing to us.
Absolutely.
And you're being a whole lot less respectful about it, for the most part. Obviously, sure there's people who aren't as respectful, but I'm just like, sometimes, and it's like, and you have to learn to when to say something and when not to. Like, because if sometimes it's like you're doing more damage opening your mouth than, if people are closed-minded and they're not listening anymore, then it's just turning into an argument that's getting nowhere. You're not listening to what the other person has to say. You're just thinking about the next thing that you're going to say back.
Yes, exactly. It's like trying to get the next trying to get one up on each other. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, let's go to the next question. It says, Marcia, is it Marcia? Marcia Barlow spoke on persuasive speaking and writing. Did Wilbur and others exemplify any of her ideas, and how so? So,
that question.
I was gonna say we kind of already talked about that, but anything you wanted to add to that? I mean, he made the box like of the dimensions the slaves were stored in. Remember, we popped out in the kitchen. He's like, ah. And then the guys.
Oh, that was funny.
That was funny. He's like, and then when he said, "How come you waited until your servant was gone?" And then he's like, "They already think I'm crazy." Like, so I didn't want to pop out of the box when he was here. Oh, shoot. Anyway, I thought that part was really funny. Oh, man.
New.
Yeah.
Knew what his appearance was like. I have to do the same thing. Hide your crazy.
Hide your crazy. Exactly. But I mean, it was just interesting. So I think that, like, he was doing everything that she was talking about in persuasive writing and speaking. Like, everything we've already talked about exemplified her ideas. So let's go to the next question. What role did the government policy and religious freedom play in the fight of the slave trade? And did you see their political system being pro-family? And why or why not? So
I'll go.
Go for it.
Okay. Obviously, I think because she said yes, this is okay, no, it's not okay. So obviously, you kind of have to go through the government. But I think when it comes to like religious freedom, it was I don't know, the fighting for everyone else. What the majority of everybody wants. Obviously, the really people were more for pro-family. The government totally seemed to be, not so. They like the luxury of having someone waiting on them hand and foot, and and whatever else. Especially the little guy, like and syndrome right there. Like he just wanted a slave, so he.
Oh yeah.
It's a little.
That really.
Just like it made him feel more powerful. But.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You're frozen too, so. Yeah.
Okay. I like it when it's like you're freezing, your face is all funky. You're making like a weird face, and you're like, oh great, thanks for freezing on that part.
Yeah, that's always good, isn't it?
I know. Like, thanks for that.
Shoot. Okay, so I kind of felt the same way.
No, that's just what I thought.
Well, and the policies that fought against the slave trade is when they voted to get the ships that flew the American flag searched, because it wasn't that, because they said it would it hampered the slave trade significantly, so people wouldn't want to, do that anymore. But like you said, I saw their political system being very individualistic. Like, yeah, when he said, "You'll never quiet the voice of the people," do you remember that? Like, he was screaming and he was yelling and he held up his hand and he's like, no matter how loud you shout, you will not drown out the voice of the people. And the guy just looked at him and was like, people, like.
Yeah. Who cares about people?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, who in the freak cares about people?
Government.
Yeah, well, the thing is that if you can imagine, like, who was paying him, like, all of the companies that probably owned slave ships were paying him to keep the slave trade alive, or he probably owned his own slave, like, deportation, like, he probably had tons of money in it, and so I think that he was just doing it for himself, to be honest with you, like, it was amazing.
Totally selfish.
Well, and yeah, it's just crazy. Okay, let's go to the next one. Do you feel that Wilbur used his time on Earth well? And how did you see him showing the elements of consecration that Elder Christopherson spoke of? So I think he spent his time really well. What is it?
I think he completely was. He just didn't have any purpose. Like he
Wilbur?
just was just
What?
wasting air.
You're so funny. Totally a waste of space.
Like, no, but I just had to, throw my last couple jokes before the end of the semester.
It's a good
But
question, right? Nope.
yeah, no, I mean, I think his purpose is a whole lot better than mine. Like, wow, I should be doing something with myself. Like, I don't know. That's a lot of work. That is a lot of work that he did, and he fought for it. Well, and what impressed me too, like he still did all that, like, you know, that like consumed him, but he still was able to have a family.
I
And it seemed like,
know.
at least from the video, like he was still able to be a good husband and a good son. I was like, wow, you rock, Wilbur, you rock.
I know. It's amazing. I have no idea how he did it, to be honest with you. And then plus not only that, but he was also sick. Like on top of that, he would get
Oh
those like
yeah,
crazy spasms where he said his body was trying to like throw up itself and it couldn't, and his lungs
yeah,
wanted to trade places and all these other things. And I was
yeah,
like, ouch. Like that's gotta be so painful. Like to endure that. I don't know. Like yeah, I don't know. And
yeah.
and I don't know if it's like the oh man, do you remember the dream he had of the plantation? I don't know when it was in the movie, but he had the dream that the people and he was reading the letter like in his mind and he was talking about how the children get burned, roll into the fire, like and
Oh yeah, yeah,
they yeah, and I was
yeah.
just like he felt that pain. Like he felt
Yeah,
other people's pain. And
yeah.
I just
It reminds me of Christ, honestly.
oh
Like
absolutely.
that's exactly what it is. Like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
it consumed him. That's all
It
he could
did.
think about. It's even that time where he like took a break and was trying to kind of, I don't want to say step away from, but his health was kind of his bad health,
Yeah.
and he just like he couldn't shake it. He's like, I can't. It's
Even
all
when
he
he
could,
was sick.
yeah, it's all he could think about.
Yeah.
I was just like, I mean, I definitely think that he was inspired by God for sure,
Oh, I totally
for sure.
agree.
Like he that was his purpose on this earth. Very cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, the next question is any other profound thoughts or personal insights from the movie that related to child and family advocacy? I just said those who fight for the rights of other people, no matter where they are, cannot stop thinking about those people. So I like imagine, oh, I don't remember the guy, but the guy who wrote the book, or who the book was written about him that we had to read this semester, who went back to the UN
Oh,
and
what was his name?
oh, what is his name?
Richard Wilkinson,
Richard
Wilkins.
Wilkins or Wilkinson, yeah, and how not
Yeah,
necessarily that he was totally consumed about fighting for other people, but like it never left him. Like he was always there, and then after he came home, like he fought so hard to for the family. Like he never stopped. It was like you said, it consumed him. Like
yeah,
with the slave trade, it totally consumed his thoughts, his every waking breath. Like
yeah.
makes you kind of feel like you're not doing much. Aw.
Yeah, and I just like sometimes I'm like, am I doing like I know, like we're always, thought that we have like a specific purpose on this earth. Fine, because I don't feel like can you, because I don't know, I want to make a difference in someone's life. Like I don't know, not that I have to be like famous or being this. But I'm like, I just want to know that I came down here and I did something for somebody.
I bet your spouse would say that you've already done that for him. So there you go.
Yeah,
Which is good.
hopefully. If not, that's a
Hopefully.
problem.
You're so funny. Let's see. Anything else? I like that the movie emphasized action. Like the priest, when he was talking to Wilbur, he said, "Do whatever you can do to stop the slave trade." Like, he wasn't just talking about it just to talk about it. He was doing like something to have him act upon it. And so, like, when we learned this semester about the what was that called? Shoot, I don't remember any of the terms, but the thing in Arizona, that was the bill that was going to pass in Arizona, that was going to take away the rights of the parents to have their children go to church. Do you remember? I don't remember what it's called, but then I loved that, like, Jeanette was so on top of it that she went and talked to, like,
Oh, I know.
she wrote a letter to her representative, and I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, I even wrote that.
Like, oh,
I wrote about that in my journal. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, she totally is inspired by having, like, but it was like to take action. It wasn't to be like, well, just sit down and like learn about it and then move on. Like, she really
she did something.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't like this. I wish it would change. She was like, I'm gonna try and make it change, or at least give somebody my 2 cents about it.
Well, then she's like, I want to talk about it in Relief Society. You know, like, I was like, whoa.
She's so cute.
I know. Anyway, it's just so funny. I was like, it's so cool that it does, you know, it teaches you to, like, take action and to be informed. Like, you should make sure you're well informed of what's going on at the policies at different levels, because to be super honest with you, I'm not political at all. Like,
yeah.
I could care less who's running for office.
It makes me angry. So I try not. I don't know. You need to know. You totally need to know.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, and I mean, I married a man who did political science as his major, and so, like, when he's like, you what? You know, like, you're voting without knowledge? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh my gosh. Like,
here, let me fill out your ballot for you, your sample ballot for you.
Exactly. He's like, take this with you, too. That way you'll vote for the right people. You know, like.
I know. Oh gosh. Well, this last time, like, they were doing like local. It was like local voting stuff or whatever. And I don't know. But my mother-in-law like texted the whole family and was like, what did she say? She's like, our family votes, no questions asked. And then she said everybody her sample ballot, so everyone knew who to vote for. And so I was like, great, let's go. You know, like, and you know, it's just like, hey, this is awesome. Like, can you do this every time? You know, because her and I, you know, we talk about all kinds of stuff that, you know, and I'm getting a little bit better about watching some stuff in the news, but I have just half of it lies. Like, you don't know more. You know, so it's just like, I don't know. It's hard to know what to believe and who to believe.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, it just makes me angry inside. You know, and then the other part of me just says, bring this closer to the second coming. So whatever. You know,
I know.
Gosh, like, yes, that's the truth, but that doesn't mean you just sit back and watch it happen. Like, if you see a house caught on fire, you're just gonna sit back and watch it burn.
No, oh my gosh,
you're gonna at least attempt to put the fire out.
Yeah,
you know, and
it's
I don't
true.
know, so it totally just, I don't know. For me, at the beginning of this mess, you know, family advocacy and doctrine of the family, I just thought about my personal family, like what I needed to do as a wife, as a mother, what, you know, I expected to happen within my family, how I want to raise my kids, blah blah blah. You know, and then now I'm just like, I think of family. Yeah, I think of my family, but I think of my family inside a bigger picture of a bunch of families. Like,
yeah. Well,
know,
inside
right
the community,
of
you know.
families.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. No, that makes sense. No,
we can't sit back anymore. Like, we have to do something. It's, you know,
it's true.
sometimes it is hard as it is. It's just like, oh, okay, this is important.
Well, and you know, as you do have children and you do start that journey, like, you end up doing stuff about it within those realms of, like, the system.
Yeah.
like with the school or with the peer group or with the, like all sorts of things, and you deal with it all the time. And
Yeah.
you can advocate for families in such small ways, like, and profound ways. Like, we have a little friend, one of my daughters, she's 8, and she has one of her friends come over who's not LDS, and she lives with her father and father's girlfriend and sisters. And her mother passed away a couple of years ago. But
Oh,
she lives in our ward boundaries, or in our like sister ward boundaries, and so occasionally Amma will be like, "You should come to achievement days, achievement days with me, or come to church
mm,
and do these things with us." And I don't know what her life is like, but hopefully, like being in our house and seeing how like we relate to one another, she's impacted in a positive way. To be like, oh, like this is more like what I don't see at my house, but I hope that maybe someday I will have it at my house, you know?
yeah. What
And
she
so,
wants in her home.
of what she wants, yeah. So even though
Yes.
it's not on a grand scale, like even those like even the small experiences that you have with people around you, or like hopefully will influence them to choose a higher path, or to choose, for the family anyway. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's go to number 10. It says, what was your understanding of the doctrine of the family at the beginning of the semester? Oh, we already talked about that. Let's
Yeah. We're on
see.
the last one.
Yay. Picture your spouse and children. Write down some thoughts about how they'll benefit from you taking this class. I just said I'll probably speak up a lot more.
Yeah.
For yeah, and I don't know if that's positive or negative, in like from their perspective.
No,
You
depending on
know,
what you say, I guess.
yeah.
Oh, it's
Exactly.
great though. Like, we need more people to speak
I
up.
know.
For me, I just I don't know. Well, I think I've calmed down on speaking too much. Like, I don't know. I just don't want to rub people the wrong way, and I think I was a little too much that way in high school. Like, my dad has a saying, like he says that I know how to pour salt because I
On
like,
the open wounds.
yeah, because I cut straight to the chase. Like, I really don't like stupid. Not trying to be necessarily funny, but it drives me nuts. I'm just like, stop beating around the bush. Don't be dumb. Like, do what you're supposed to. If you're not going to do what you're supposed to, then you know what the consequences are. Not that I'm
Yeah.
perfect, because I mean, I had faced many of my own consequences, but like, I don't know. So my husband will sometimes do little things like, I don't know. He always did something and that was a consequence for it, but he was like whining about it and like, okay, well then stop doing that. If you're sick of this, then stop. If you're sick of B, then stop doing A. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, your dad is right. You sure know how to pour the salt on an open wound. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I was just like, I just don't. Oh, I think a way to say it is, I don't like the woe is me.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I
You
can't
mean
help
you
it. Like,
don't like the blind?
yeah, it instantly makes me irritated. Like,
Uh,
so I calmed that down where I can, be a little bit better, nicer when I do speak up, a little bit kinder or
oh
understanding, I
boy.
guess, compassionate.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was thinking about is just for me, I really liked how it talked about not using the phrase, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm just a mom.
Just a mom. Yeah.
Everyone says that. Oh, I'm just a mom. Or, oh, I'm just this. Or usually people use that term when they're not happy with what they're doing. Like when people ask me, oh, what do you work? Oh, I just work at a learning center. I just work at a daycare. Like,
Yeah.
not that I'm not proud of the work that I'm doing, because it really is, um,
It's a really
rewarding.
good work. Yeah.
Yeah, hard, rewarding work and stuff, and I do enjoy it. But I think for me, sometimes it's the way that others look at it, like, oh, like you're a babysitter. Like,
Yeah,
no,
of
like,
course.
what I'm saying? Like, oh, you just work at daycare, you just change diapers all day long. Like, no, like, yes, I do those things, but
But
I actually teach these kids things. Like, I teach them things. Like, even like, I don't know, when I would watch the kids in my class, and then even some of like my family when they had kids, and I'd watch their kids, and the kids
Yeah,
were more just relaxed and laid back. I was just like, I'm teaching this kid so much more than you're teaching your own kid, and you're with yours all day long. It's like I am doing something. It is good work and stuff, but I sometimes I'd be embarrassed, like, that I'm not working in like a law firm or whatever else. Like my work is just as important. And
of
it's the same
course.
with being a mom. Like I want more than anything to get to stay home with my kids and to raise them. And because I don't trust anyone else to raise my kids. So like I'm not gonna say that. I'm like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a mom. Like I get to be home and I get to raise my children so that no one else screws them up but me. Or like
You're so
yeah.
funny, so nobody screws them up at me. No, you should be like, I am the CEO.
I'm a CEO of my home.
That's
He knows.
right. Exactly.
Oh,
My
my
sister,
like doing it
my
very
sister
well.
feels the same way. Like she calls it the C. She's the C. Let's see, what is it? Yeah, like the CEO of the Torgerson household. Like she she is so because she's been able to stay home since her kids have all been born, and her oldest is 12, and she's still at home. And so when people ask her like, what do you do, or what, she's like, I'm the CEO of the Torgerson Enterprises. And they're like, whoa, like, she's like, and then she uses all like great big words to describe all the things that she does all day, like reading and interpreting. And I like, I'm a culinary expert. Like, I do all these things. Like, and I love it because then the people are like, wow, oh my gosh, like, you do so much work, like, that's a lot of work. She was like, yeah, and I do it all at home. Like, but she loves it because she's not just a mom, like that so many people seem to refer
Yeah.
to people who stay like caretakers. It's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
just a mom. Or I feel sometimes people feel that because you do care for children or whatnot, like you sell yourself short. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, that is the most vital time of their lives, is the very, very
Mhm.
short period of time that you have between birth and, you know, 18 years old, hopefully, if they're still
Yeah.
pliable by then. But really, honestly, truly, like birth to 7 to 10, even to 13 or 15 is such an important time. And so many
Yeah.
people are so, I don't know if it's easy for them to give their children away to other people, but so many people just
Some
seem, it's like so nonchalant. Like, I'm just going to have my kids all go to daycare. Like,
for 12 hours a day and then the babysitters on weekends.
yeah, because I don't have time to take care of them, and or nor do I want to. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one to. I had a friend who didn't ever want to potty train any of her children, and thankfully she only had 2 children. But she's like, I do not want to potty train them, so I will send them to daycare.
I see that every day. Every day.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then like,
and
we'll be working with them and then they go home for the weekend and they come back and it's like starting all over.
starting all over again. It's just like
It's like
foster kids.
it's frustrating.
I have a friend who
Oh,
does
I
foster
bet.
care, and she takes in children who have been traumatized, or children who have been taken away, or whatever, or children who have extreme behavior problems, and they work with them for months and months and months, and then they go back to their same like situation, and the children just turn immediately back to what they once were.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I've
it's
heard
just, yeah, it's terrible, and I don't know how anybody would be comfortable taking their child to a daycare center and leaving them with them for 12 hours a day, up to 12 hours a day, and be okay with that.
yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, no,
So,
we're not doing that. Yeah.
yeah, I admire that. Don't do whatever you can to make sure that you're available there for, because I mean my daughter's 8 years old and I've always been home, and I said, because she was like, Mom, I want to have an allowance, and I said, honey, right now we just can't financially give you an allowance, and I said, but if I got a job, then you could have an allowance. And and she's like, well, what would it entail? And I said, well, aftercare, then you have to school, and you have to all these other things, And she's like, ooh, I don't want to go to aftercare. She's like, I want you to be home, Mom. I don't want to go to aftercare. And because she has friends who are in aftercare, and it's not bad. It's really not bad. But in her opinion, she's, in her mind, she's like, oh my gosh, like, I'd rather have you be home than have an allowance.
Yeah.
And I said, well, then don't complain, like, don't complain about not having money for your whatever you think you need, Yeah, it's just funny. It's just so funny. Anyway, okay, so did we go over everything that will benefit our spouse and children? I think we did.
Yeah, we're awesome.
Yeah, I think so. No, you're so funny. Anyway, okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast now.